Resolution of the City Council of the City of Jackson, Mississippi, supporting the approval by the United States Army Corps of Engineers of the Metropolitan Jackson Pearl River Flood Control Project.
So moved.
Second.
I have been moved and properly seconded. 71. I'll give you a minute to catch up.
So
We're going to do item 71. I know we have a number of people that are here to discuss that one, so let's go ahead and knock that item out.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Jackson, Mississippi, supporting the approval by the United States Army Corps of Engineers of the Metropolitan Jackson Pearl River Flood Control Project.
So moved.
Second.
I have been moved and properly seconded. 71. I'll give you a minute to catch up. Council Lady Lindsay, this is your item?
Yes,
you wanna
thank you
have a
very
word?
much.
All right.
In 1980, shortly after the flood of 1979, I moved to the city of Jackson and as a reporter for the Clarion Ledger, and I saw the devastation and the catching up and the horrible impact that the flood had had on this city. And now we are about 40 years after this flood, and we still are trying to figure out how we are going to manage the magnitude of such a flood for our city. And while floods do not discriminate among the rich and the poor, I've seen firsthand that the poor are truly the most devastated by such a horrible thing. The economic impact of such a flood, again, would really be devastating to our city. And so we are at a place now where I think we as a city, it is still in the public comment phase, that is true, and it will go on for some time longer. But we are at a place now where I think we as a city need to say whether or not we support the moving through the environmental study phase of the One Lake project, so that we then can move forward into the next phase if this is approved by the Corps to the design phase, so we can see what this could and look like for our city. And so with that, I would ask that we allow Mr. Dwayne O'Neill with the Chamber to make a brief comment, just because I would like to get his input on this as well.
All right, we'll allow it briefly, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, President Priester and Councilwoman, very, very much, and everyone here. We appreciate what you do and the tough job that you have, and thank you, Mayor. I'm here tonight, as most of you know, I represent the Greater Jackson Chamber, and we work very closely with you and the citizens of this community to try to do the best thing that we can for each and every phase of the issues that confront us. And I'm fortunate tonight to be joined by Mayo Flint and Dallas Quinn and Barry Howard, and Robert Gibbs is on his way. If he doesn't make it here, he meant to, so he's going to be shortly. Councilwoman already said this, but I'll just reiterate that same flood that we had in '79. It happened today, it's not the same as it was back then. There's so much more build out, and it would devastate so much more of our entire community, that now we're looking at over $1 billion worth of loss if that same particular event happens once more. And so we have to take a look at that. We have this upcoming opportunity for everybody to come out and have their say at these public hearings, and I think that's the place that we hope that we find out even more. But that's a opportunity for anybody that has any objections. But if I could just yield for a couple of seconds to Mayo and to also to my whole gang that's here, okay?
Thank you. Dallas Quinn with Pearl River Vision Foundation. We're assisting the Rankin Hines Flood District in this effort. And I'd just like to say it's been 40 years since the '79 flood, but there have been numerous proposals that have been analyzed and looked at over the years, from Chaco Dry Dam to the levee alternative in the 1990s to the two lakes, LaFleur Lakes, and now we're at the project today. Again, this project has gone through many reviews. The Corps of Engineers, we're continuing those reviews. An independent external review, we're continuing that as well. So this resolution is just a resolution showing the city is serious about flood control and wants to pursue a solution. So we still have a lot to do. We've got, again, a public meeting next Tuesday night at the Mississippi Ag Museum. Then we also have 2 downstream meetings scheduled for the following weeks where we'll be meeting with downstream communities, one in Mississippi, one in Louisiana, and we'll be addressing all of those concerns as we have been. We'll continue to address their concerns and work without the community. We also will be available to have any smaller town hall meetings. I know the mayor's mentioned that in the past, which we are still looking forward to some smaller town halls as well throughout the city.
All right.
So,
Council colleagues, any further questions or comments on this item?
Yes.
Councilman Stokes.
Thank you so much. Mr. President, I received a call today, and I tried to reach Con Maloney, someone who was involved with Two Lakes some years back. I couldn't reach him, and I remember Mr. McGowan. It might have been a while since I've talked to him, but I think he was pushing Two Lakes. Maybe when I was at the county, I did a resolution in support of Two Lakes, and now it's One Lake. My major concern was that, number one, is that I think the leadership should have come from the city of Jackson. Even when Harvey Johnson was the man, these other cities took the leadership role. There was always question about minority participation, and I never think that has ever been worked out. And we moving the, as they say, kicking the can down the road, but we still not discussing these main issues that's going to affect the majority of the people in this city who are black people. And I don't think we have enough black people at the table. Now, with all that said, with Mr. McGowan with Two Lakes, and I liked what he was talking about, and I know we're talking about One Lake now, but I think we need to have more people at the table who can tell us from Jackson, who can tell us exactly what's going to take place, what's going to happen, and I feel a little more comfortable. I don't feel comfortable today, and I'm voting no.
Yes, sir. Councilman Stamps.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I agree that the work needs to get done. Something has to happen to stop a catastrophic event. But a resolution like this, I think, should come from the mayor and at least the council president. I don't believe that a resolution like this should come from council people individually. I think it should, whatever the mayor sits on this board, and so whatever reservations that he has, the reason that this doesn't have his name on it, I think we need to conquer those things, then bring it forward with an interlocal agreement with the board, because there will be a taxation schedule assessed on a portion of the city of Jackson as well, and some boundaries in an interlocal agreement between the governing authority of the district and the city of Jackson. So I think there's a few things to work out. I don't think that we are in any way should be stopping the deal. I think that that we should, the mayor and the council president should be carrying a torch for some of this magnitude. And whatever reason that they're not carrying a torch on this issue, I think that we need to go behind closed doors and iron those things out. Because I'd rather follow the mayor's lead and the president's lead versus follow some council people's lead pushing the resolution. So whatever those reservations are, I think that if we could work that out, I'd be glad to vote yes with the mayor's name on this.
Let me just say that this is coming from Council Lady Lindsay with no reservation from me that this is, my personal belief as president is, if a council person wants to put it on the agenda, let them put it on the agenda. So my name on it is neither an endorsement or a non-endorsement, but that's just, I think, a different of philosophy. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I would just add to that by saying, first and foremost, I want that same spirit in a lot of the other items that we're going for, that you're following my lead. I'll take advantage of that. I've made it clear. I've made it clear, and this is the reason that I didn't put the item forward. I made it clear that the public comment was important to me. I'm not stating that I'm in opposition to the project, right? The reason that I did not put it forward is that I wanted the community to have its say before I put something forward. I'm not telling you to vote against it, right? And I've also made it clear, so I can put it out publicly, that part of the conversation for me, I am concerned about the environmental, but I believe, and I'm concerned about flooding, of course, but I believe that most excitement that is generated on this project is the economic advantages. And if that's so, then I've repeated time and time again that Jackson needs to make certain that it gets its fair share. My statement has been, if it doesn't pay, then Jackson shouldn't play, right? And so I think that, you know, as I'm looking at the people in front of you, I sit on the board, I learn a lot from the board. I won't say that I'm an expert in any regard. There are questions that I will raise as time comes about. But I'm not, I think that this is something that the council should consider. But the reason that I didn't put it forward is that I think that the public must have its say in terms of it being, in terms of me putting it forward, right? In terms of me putting it on the agenda. So,
Councilman Banks and Councilman Stamps.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, I think that the way this is done gives us a good strategic advantage. The mayor sits on that board over there, gives him an opportunity to be able to speak plainly and speak his conviction. Meanwhile, with the stuff and the things that have to be done as far as flood control, as far as the things that would be invitation, because a lot of, if things were to happen, it would damage a whole lot in my ward, especially around Savannah Street, that area. So I'm going to support this, but I think it's important that what the mayor said rings all throughout Jackson, all throughout Hinds, Rankin County, wherever, that the majority of this council, this mayor, we're concerned about where Jackson will, how this will position Jackson. You know, if there's any advantages, I will echo the same sentiment. Jackson needs to get its fair share, and so, you know, we want the mayor to be able to go with clear head, clear conscience, and be able to do it and not feel beholden, so that he can talk plainly, representing us on that board. And hearing that gives us a level of comfort. But then, as far as time constraints or anything to help us move forward with any studies or anything that needs to be done, you know, I think that we need to support this. So, thank you.
All right, Councilman Stamps.
My last comment, Mr. President, and I do appreciate everyone's take on this. It always gives me pause when people say I got to vote today.
I didn't hear what you said.
It always gives me pause when folks say we have to vote today. When they republish the agenda to get something on the agenda at the last minute and then say we got to vote on Tuesday. I just want to, there was going to be a quorum at the last tour. And anytime you go out discussing stuff and this kind of thing, it's not always my hesitation to be a part of a quorum outside of the chambers, especially if it's not noticed. So I'll gladly support this in 2 weeks. If we could just push this to the next council meeting and go on a tour, listen to the public comments, and I can actually have a meeting with the mayor to sit down and see what I should be asking, because I don't even know the questions I should be asking. I know that there will be a taxation schedule for parts of Ward 7 and Ward 6. I definitely want to talk about the money aspects of it and take the tour. I think other folks are more comfortable because they've actually had a tour. But I want this to pass 7-0. I don't want it to pass 6-1. I want it to pass 7-0 if we're going to support it. But I don't want it to be any hesitation, because this is the largest project that the city has done since it put pipes in the ground 100 years ago. So if it's not going to get unanimous support today, I think that we need to wait till the public comment period, get the full steam of the mayor behind it if possible, and then move forward. I don't want to hold this up. Is there a deadline that's going to be that we're going to meet or miss if it doesn't get voted on today? Because something this big, I want unanimous support.
All right. Does anyone have any further comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Foote, and then the mayor.
Since my question is directed to what he just said, can I ask this right quick? Does
Sure.
it matter? I just want to know, would full unanimous support have, what would be the impact there? I want to.
We would obviously appreciate the full council support, but we have gotten the support of all the other communities inside the district, and we will continue to work with the city council, making sure you're aware of everything in and out. And again, like Councilwoman Lindsay said, the final design phase is still out there, and it's months and months away, 6 months plus away, before we get down to drilling that down. So as far as the shoreline, what's there, the boat ramps, the picnic pavilions, those type things, the recreational benefits, those are all aspects of it. So those are all going to be incorporated in the actual final design phase. But yes, I mean, we would like to have the full council support, but we also would like to have the council support for the project.
I guess my question really is, if you did not get the full council support, what would it do to the efforts going forward? That's what I guess I'm asking. I know what is preferred, but I'm asking, what would it do?
Well, I mean, we'd like to be able to show the Corps of Engineers and the public at large that the city is pursuing this option and wants to work towards a solution to these flood control issues. So I think it would be we would like to have full council support, but we need to have council support for the project. The resolution.
One question: is there a deadline that's going to be missed in the next 2 weeks?
Well, we do have the public comment meeting, the first large meeting coming up next to a week from today. So we'd like to go in there with unified support that the communities in this area do support flood control in this effort. So we think that's important to let the federal government and the Corps of Engineers know that these communities care about flood control and they'd like to move the ball forward.
All right, Councilman Foote, and then we'll let Mr. Tillman, Mr. Stokes.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say that history shows over and over and over again that water features like lakes or reservoirs, river walks, whatever, have added value both in terms of commerce and quality of life to city after city after city across the country. And I see this as a great opportunity for Jackson to improve its quality of life for its citizens and improve the economic prosperity of its citizens, all of its citizens, in the years ahead. It won't happen overnight. It's going to take a while to do the project. But I think 10, 20, 30 years from now, the citizens will really appreciate this if we actually make it come to pass.
All right. Councilman Stokes, you have
Thank
a
you,
question?
Mr. President. Mr. President, again, when they first started talking about 2 lakes and 1 lake and Mr. McGowan was involved, the respect of the congressman was extremely important, and that's where we came into the minority participation. I know this has been a long-term project with a lot of different meetings, and part of that discussion was minority participation, and I'm not hearing anything from Congressman Thompson. They want to make sure that he was involved. It's got to have some federal support, some federal legs for this to work. And we hurrying up and voting on something to say we're going to beat a meeting, but yet we're not talking about the nuts and bolts. Where's the congressman? It was years ago when this congressman said, we got to have minority participation for a project this large. And now it look like we're going around the back door to try to vote on something and leaving the congressman out. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's fair.
All right, Mr. Tillman.
This project has been on the table a long time. A long, long time. I went to some meetings early on in the beginning. One of the Maloney boys was there. Then there was an older gentleman. I think he did the first engineering layout project. some Army engineer and people from Vicksburg were at that meeting. And then it kind of went back and forth. 2 lakes, somebody mentioned a 3 lake, but most recently it was 1 lake and 2 lake, 1 lake and 2 lake. A lot of players at the beginning is no longer around. Now, if it flooded again like it flooded in 1979, what are the people going to be saying? Some will say, hey, if we went on and did the 1 lake, we know it's coming. We wouldn't have to deal with this. Now it kind of got down to economic development on both sides of the lake. Of course, yeah, I've always said I want to make sure Jackson is treated fairly. We need economic development real bad. We need flood control even worse. That is the number one topic, is flood control. And number 2 to me is economic development. If the whole project in its final stage before us today, before this community, you're not going to get 100%. You're not going to get 100% vote. That's just like in Hawaii, the volcano. People won't move. It's flooding. And police said, go get everybody out. And some people, no, I'm not going any place. You don't get 100%. But I tell you, when things happen, and it become one of the best things happen, then everybody was a vote. I voted for it. I did that line. It's being successful then. You can kick it down, keep on kicking on the can down the road. Don't flood. We know that.
Mr. Tillman,
I've been to a lot of meetings concerning this project. I know some of you young people have never been to that meeting. But whatever. Ever I have a chance to vote on it, I'm going to vote. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to vote for this project. Tonight, or next week, or the next week, whenever. This project has my vote. Thank you.
all right, Miss Council Lady Lindsay, and that's we got to move on.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Just as a point of clarity, I do want my colleagues to know that our mayor, along with 3 other mayors, did sign a letter of support for this project for funding, to ask for funding from the legislature. Is that correct, for the study? So he has voiced some support for the project in the past.
All right. Unless somebody's got a really pressing comment. Councilman Stamps. It's pressing.
I just want to...
Councilman Stamps getting the last word. All right. We've been on this one for 23 minutes. I know this is very, very important, but we got 10 o'clock and the lights go out.
All right.
All right.
If you got to answer and I'm looking at the Rankin Hines Pearl River Flood and Drainage Control District, Metropolitan Jackson Flood Risk Management Project Equal Opportunity Contract Program Policy Statement. Would that be open for negotiation for us to come to the table to talk about your EBO policy?
I believe that the district would, Mayor, that's been proposed, and the district is planning on taking that up at the second Monday of August. So there is some time between now and then for discussion on that item, and I'm sure the district would be very open to discussing that.
All right.
Yes, Councilman.
To that point, quickly, we will engage in that conversation. The Minority Contractors Association wants to be a part of that conversation.
Councilman Stamps.
Yes, sir.
So there's some separate issues that folks have. I understand that. My issue really is I just want to get a chance to see it. Okay, I just want to ride around. So I don't know why we have to vote today when 3 council people haven't even seen it on the tour. I'm very leery when folks come up and say, you got to vote today. So I'm not saying I'm opposed to this. I'm saying that after seeing it, we may just get unanimous support and hear some public comments in the interim of that time period to galvanize our support. I just don't want to be disjointed. This clique politics is not getting us in the right direction. We need unity. So I just think that everyone should be taken on a tour and everybody vote as a group, but not the same meeting we had 2 weeks ago, how the same group floats down the river together and leaves everybody else on the island. So all I'm asking is, let's go on a tour, let's hear the public comments, let's get the full support of the mayor, not just about a letter and asking for money. I'll sign it today. I'm talking about the full support of everybody so we can move on together and not just be pushed to vote because a few folks want to vote today. That's all I'm asking is that we table this to the next meeting.
It's there.
Mr. President, I motion to table this to the next council meeting.
All right, there's been a motion to table this item. Any further discussion, or I think we've covered the discussion? All right.
Who made the motion?
Mr. Stamps and Mr. Stokes.
Oh, okay.
Well, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity's sake, and things may have changed, Mr. Mayor, and I've been watching this project a long time. Is it not the mayor out of Flowood, Jackson, what is it, Pearl?
Yes, Councilman.
Talking about the board?
Yeah.
You want to list
It's the mayors of Jackson, Flowood, Pearl, Richland, Hinds County, Rankin County, and the state of Mississippi. So 7-member board.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And back from Harvard Johnson was the mayor, he was always outvoted. So even if we come and say we want minority participation, it could still be outvoted, correct?
It could be.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank
Councilman, it could be.
Thank you.
All right, there's a motion to table the item. All those in favor of tabling the item? All right, opposed? All right, the item is back on the floor. All those in favor of the resolution? Opposed? All right, the resolution carries 6-1. Thank you.